Welcome back to the True Love Secrets Revealed Summit. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so proud of you for watching all these amazing sessions and grabbing the gifts. And something is happening this time that I really have a hard time releasing the interviews because I want to release them all at once. All the experts are so amazing, and today is not the exception. We have Ken Bechtel with us. He's a relationship and dating and relationship coach. He has been doing the work for over 20 years. He's so experienced and so knowledgeable. He's an author. He's the author of the book Follow Your Yes. And he's a minister as well, a speaker. I mean, he has so many accolades. I'm going to write them down on the description box of this video. So welcome, Ken. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Natalia. It's great to be here.
Awesome. I'm very happy. So I just love the name of your book, Follow Your Yes. And I really like that analogy that you have of the rose. And when I read it, I thought, oh my God, that is so sweet for a man to be writing about a rose. And the way you describe it is so beautiful and so touching. Would you mind to share a little bit how you came up maybe with this rose analogy and what do you mean by it?
Yeah, so I call it blooming, right? And it actually came about. I was living in Portland, Oregon, and anybody who's been there may know there's what they call the International Rose Test Garden there, and it has about 600 different varieties of roses. And when I was out there, I was taking a photography class, and I thought, oh, what a great place to go take pictures of flowers. So I went up to this test garden, and I was just in awe of here's all these different varieties of roses, and it seemed like they were all blooming at once. And so I talked to one of the caretakers there, and I said, how do you get all these roses to bloom at once? He said, well, you know, they all have, that's what it's a test garden. So we keep trying to figure out how to make them the best they can be. And every single one of them has different needs, right? They different amounts of water, sunlight, or nutrients, and so on. And he goes, so this has been here for over 100 years, and we keep trying to find the exact recipe for each one of these varieties. And I said, yeah, that's incredible. He goes, it'd be nice if they just told us what they needed, but they can't. So we have to keep guessing, right?
Oh,
And so that's one of the things that really clicked for me. It's like, well, if you're in a relationship and you want to be your best, which I call blooming, well, if you don't tell the other person, they just have to guess.
right.
And it can take hundreds of years for them to ever guess. But if we know how to express those things and actually trust that they're going to either be our advocate, be our supporter, just like that caretaker is with the roses, or that won't be their thing. And that's okay too. But we're coming into a relationship with that commitment to bloom and be our best version of ourselves.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Wow. Now I have another place to go visit. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And I really like what you said about expressing what we need and what we want, knowing that the man is not a mind reader, and he, maybe he has been dating other women, maybe he's divorced, and his wife was different than us. So, but there are different ways that we can express that, and there are some ways that really foster openness and the willingness to hear us and compel them in a way. I don't know if that's the right word, but inspire them maybe is a better word to give us what we want. And there is a way that doesn't do that, and I know because I was there. uh, I was very demanding, and the way I was asking for things, they were doing it because they loved me, but it wasn't really fostering. The connection was being broken and broken and broken. So do you have any simple, I know it's a deep concept, but do you have any simple ways that women could learn to communicate in a way that they can be heard and inspire men to get them what they want?
Well, the biggest thing is, as you said, men aren't mind readers. And literally there are countless studies, and I've even done research on this myself, where I asked guys, I said, if there's one thing, just one thing you want the women in your life to know that would improve your relationship, what would it be? And in my study and in other ones I've seen, 80 to 90% of the men say, we can't read your mind. We know it. We know we're terrible guessers. We want you to understand that because you have this desire. It's kind of the fairy tale, right? Oh, the right guy will just know what I want. That's a fairy tale. Now, here's the reason why we run into this. And this is something that I'm sure some of the folks watching will understand. One of the reasons why it can be difficult to own what you need is you don't feel needy. Or, I mean, you don't want to feel needy, right? There's that whole idea that, oh, if you have needs, it makes you needy, and nobody likes a needy person.
Right.
But let's think about a rose, right? A rose has its needs: water, sunlight, nutrients. If one rose needs more water than another, does that make the rose needy? No. We all have needs. Needy is totally different than having needs. So when you have needs, because men need to be needed,
Right.
which means they need to know how they can contribute. And they'll guess, and like you alluded to, right? They're going to guess based on their past experience. But do you want to be treated like he's treating you because that's how he treated his ex? No. First of all, you're not them. But the other thing is you feel unseen. Well, he's seeing what you're presenting. Right. If you're not showing up and being honest about what you need, even if you're going, wow, this seems kind of strange. Okay. Because then he gets to choose, right? He can go, oh, wow, that's amazing. I want to support that. Just like when they see a rose they really like, they can go, I want to make sure that stays blooming. Or they could be like, yeah, I'm not into roses. I like carnations. Cool. Then they can move on and you don't have to wrestle with somebody who isn't really aligned with you. So that's the benefit of owning those needs. And the first thing is letting go of the idea that needs make you needy.
Yes.
They don't. Needy is a totally different thing. Needy is when you're wanting somebody to do something for you that you're not willing to do for yourself.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, needy is when you're wanting somebody else to do something for you that you're not willing to do for yourself. So you could take care of it, but you're like, oh, could you do this? And I'll give you an example. So let's say that, I don't know, let's say you have the unfortunate habit of running out of gas in your car, right?
Do you know me?
I didn't mean you. But what happens is, somebody that does that, they might call their guy and be like, hey, can you come get me? I ran out of gas again. Now, let's think about this. In a car, there's several different things to help you not ever run out of gas. There's the gauge. A lot of them have a voice indicator. There's countless gas stations reminding you that gas is needed for cars all the time. You've got the trip thing that tells you how long you can go until you're going to run out. There's all these different things. But the needy person is the one that doesn't take care of any of those, doesn't pay attention to any of those, and then wants her guy to drop everything to come save her when she could have easily done it herself. Right? So it's not that if this was a rarity and it happened, that he wouldn't be there for you. It's if that's your habit. Oh, can you come do this for me?
Right.
When you can do that for you.
Right.
So that's the difference, because the man's sitting there going, but you don't actually need me to do that. You just want me to do that.
Right.
Because a need you have a backup for. If he's not able to do it, you'll take care of it.
Right.
The needy person's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm here on the side of the road. Well, then that's a want. You're setting yourself up to try and test him to see how much he'll step up for you. That's needy. Okay. And I'm guessing most of the people on this watching this are not that person.
Right.
But you do still have needs.
So what are some examples of needs that are healthy and mature and secure to be asking a man to fulfill?
Well, first of all, it's anything that you need to be the best version of yourself.
Wow.
Right? Because when you're committing to be your best, what a tremendous gift that is. Well, that means you have to ask for what you need. Now, it doesn't mean he's the only person that can provide that. Right? So one of the needs that's very common is a woman says, I need to spend time with my girlfriends. I need to recharge. That's really energizing for me. I love to do that. He can't be your girlfriends. So he can never provide that need. But what he can do is be in support of you getting that need fulfilled.
Right.
So he could be like, hey, I know the girls were going to get together and you were going to go. I'll take care of everything here. Don't worry about the house. And, I'll take care of the kids or whatever it is. Go have fun with your girlfriends. He's not providing the need. He's supportive of you getting that need fulfilled because he knows he can't be your girlfriends.
Yes.
Right? So we oftentimes get that idea that he needs to be able to do everything. Well, he can't. It's impossible. But he can still be your advocate. Because here's the payoff. Here's his perspective. I love how you come back after you've been with your girlfriends. I like that version of you. So of course I want you to go get whatever that is that I don't understand that you get when you're hanging out with your girlfriends. So he's like, yeah, please. How can I make sure that works? Another thing we were talking about, being active and exercise and running and so on. Well, if that's something that really energizes you, like that feeds you, that makes you really have a good day, he's not going to be like, why do you got to go on another run? He can be like, hey, we're traveling. Let's find some good trails before we go so you can make sure and have some place to run when we get there. Right? He's going to be in support of you getting those needs fulfilled. So again, it's one of those things to remember. It's not always he is the person providing all these things. Because he's going to have to, opt in on, does he even have that capacity?
Right. He
can't be a woman. Okay. We know that. That one's obvious, but sometimes it's other things. Sometimes he's occupied with something else. He's like, yeah, I know that would be great, but I don't have the time or the energy right now. How else can we make that happen? Right? He's still supportive of your need. It just doesn't happen to be through him right then.
Absolutely. I love that. I love it. I love it. It's so it's so healthy. It feels so good to have that perspective, and it seems like, that at an intellectual level, sometimes, I know that, but then our true self shows up and the ugly face, the ugly head comes out and it's like, oh my God, he's not helping me. He's not fulfilling my needs. But yes, he can be the advocate. I love that word you used. The advocate. He can support that.
Yeah.
Expecting a man to be everything is just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And the thing is, again, he knows he can't be everything. And he's just wondering why you don't understand that. Because part of it is the fairy tale, right? Women have been programmed with this whole idea. It'll just be this dreamy thing and they'll just know what I want. That's a myth. Yeah. I always tell ladies, if you make a man guess, everyone loses. Because 99% of the time you won't get what you want because he won't guess right. And then he feels like a failure.
Right.
And guess what? If he keeps having that experience trying to guess and it doesn't work, eventually he's going to stop guessing. That's not fun for him.
Right.
It feels like a trap. Like, oh, you're going to make me guess again. Well, I'm going to get this wrong. That's not fun. Guess what? I'm just not going to participate in that. So it feels like a game he can't win.
Absolutely. And actually he can't win. We are setting him up for a game that he can't win. So ladies, listen to this. Express your needs, express yourself. And if he's a healthy guy, if he's the right guy for you, he's gonna fulfill them. If he can, he'll do it himself. And if he cannot, he'll support you finding the way. So, and if he's not doing that, he may not be the right guy for you. So it's a good information.
Yeah. And, it's actually interesting because one of the things I've noticed over the years is that there's all kinds of things we do that kind of gum up the system, right? We mess up things, we get in our own way. And I found there's really kind of three primary behaviors that tend to be doing the majority of the blocking when somebody's going, how come I'm not finding what I want? And the first one is tied to needs. It's putting his needs ahead of yours. Because it's a big cultural program for women, right? You're supposed to give and give and give and just love harder and, sacrifice your needs. And that's how you're going to win his heart. But the truth is, that's only going to attract the people that are takers.
Right.
It's not going to attract a partner, which means it's going to feel unequal and you're going to feel undervalued. Because the truth is, a partnership, real partnership, starts with balance, not with sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the first, it's kind of a program, right, that people have picked up over time. Now, another one is you've gone through a relationship, maybe you had several, they haven't necessarily worked out so great. You've got all these things that you don't want to repeat. So you fixate on what you don't want. Well, I don't want a guy like Jim. He was this. I don't want a guy that does this. I don't want a guy that does that. And you start to that's all you're paying attention to. You're looking for all the things you don't want so that you can, most people will say, well, that's how I save time. I don't want to go down that path and waste my time and repeat it. But here's the trick. When you're focused on what you don't want, you're guaranteed to repeat it. Because that's what you're focusing on. So you're going to see it. And the other thing that happens is it's going to make you think that's all that's out there. Because there's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. And it's a function of our brain where whatever you're focused on, it shows you more of it. So it filters out everything else and says, oh, you're looking for a red car? Look at all the red cars on the road. Now, there's no more red cars on the road today than there was yesterday. But because you're focused on it, you'll swear suddenly there's red cars everywhere. Same thing happens like if somebody's, pregnant. All of a sudden, oh, I see all these people with kids and pregnancies.
Right.
Not because that number has changed. That's what your brain is letting you see. So if you're focused on what you don't want, it's going to show you what you don't want. Because that's what you decided to focus on. So you don't want to focus on what you don't want. You need to focus on what you do want. I'll give you a great example. I was working with a woman in California, and she goes, Ken, I don't understand this. She goes, I'm 55 years old. I've raised my family. I don't want to raise another family. And every guy I meet has younger kids that he's still raising. And I'm not interested in that. Right. And she goes, but here's the weird part. My girlfriends that I go out with, they never meet a guy with younger kids. How can this be?
Right.
Simple, right? She's so focused on not wanting that her brain always points those guys out so she can avoid them. And then she thinks that's all there is, even though right next to her is her girlfriend talking to a guy who doesn't have kids.
Yes.
So this is why we have to make sure we're not just focusing on what we don't want. We think it's protective.
Correct.
But it's actually sabotaging.
Right. Yes.
And here's the other thing to that. When you're doing that, what happens is you tend to get guarded, right? Because what are you protecting? You're protecting your heart.
Right.
Well, we all want to be, loved by our partner, body and heart, body and soul, completely, not just one or the other. But if your heart's guarded, if it's closed off, all that's left is your body. Guess what you attract? Men who only are interested in the physical. Because that's all you're allowing them to see.
Yes.
So the man who's looking for somebody that he can love body and soul, it's really that completely available, he's not going to approach you. So again, this is one of the ways we end up manifesting our worst fears. Oh, every guy I meet only wants to hook up. Is your heart open? Because if it's not, this is why. That's all we're showing is available. So the guy who's looking for a deeper connection isn't going to be drawn to that.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of a big one, right? And here's the third thing. And this is, like I said, it's not 1, 2, or 3 as far as a hierarchy, or just observation. And this one potentially could be the most damaging. And that is believing that you're not enough.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Right? So when you believe that, you're just not worthy of what you really want, what ends up happening is you start to shrink and you try and become what you think men want. Right? So you're literally dimming your light. And what happens is, well, You might meet somebody, but you'll meet somebody that's at this level because that's all you think you're worthy of. When deep down, your true essence is up here.
Right.
Well, then he's not a match. The guy that's drawn to this is not a match, and that will be revealed. It's one of the reasons why so many women are like, "Oh, I started dating this guy, and it seemed like it was going great, and then he started pulling away, and we just didn't seem like we had anything in common all at once." That's because your true essence started to show up. You got in the relationship and went, "Oh, maybe I am okay," and you started to be the full expression of you, which he would have never been drawn to.
Correct.
So you're setting yourself up because you're misrepresenting who you are and how fabulous you really are. And I'm not talking about glamorous. I'm talking about you've got amazing gifts. It's just like roses, right? There's 500, 600 different varieties of roses in that test garden. And when I walk through there, I can still remember this. I'm walking along. There's every color you can imagine, colors I didn't even know existed in roses. And all of a sudden I was like, what is that? And I was so drawn to this one particular rose. And I always say it looked like baby aspirin, like that kind of orangish, yellowish color. And I don't know what about it. I was just drawn to it. And there's 500 other kinds of roses. I could have cared less. That was my rose. Out of all of them, that's the only one that I really, really fell in love with. This is how life works. If we're showing up as our fullest expression and blooming like that rose was, somebody can walk through a room of 500 other people and they see you. So this is why it's so key to own that, hey, I don't look like the red rose or the yellow rose or the white rose, but I have value, and all I care about is the ones that really love what I have to offer.
Right.
The rest of them, great, go find the other color roses or other flowers that you like. But if I don't bloom, they won't know that I'm here. They'll just walk on by and I won't even be noticed. I mean, think about it. If you walk by a rose bush and there's no blooms, do you stop?
Yeah, no, it's not very appealing.
No, it's a thorny green plant. It's really not very attractive, right? But once
Yeah.
it blooms, you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is awesome. I'm so excited for you ladies listening to this. This is incredible. You are amazing, Ken. I really, really am digging your work. You're amazing.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing that. This is so valuable. So valuable. I wish I had this 20 years ago when I was going through my journey. So I have one last question, and it has a lot to do with your book because I'm gonna get the book. I it's my next one to read. But I love how you say follow your yes.
Yeah.
And I really like how it seems like, I mean, I just read a little bit on Amazon on what you can read. So I didn't read much, but it seems like it has a lot to do with our purpose in a way, or not really. It is,
That's
or
interesting because a lot of people assume that, right?
right,
That it's about your purpose. And it's not about your purpose in the sense of your grand purpose, like why you're here in this world. It's
right.
about your purpose in the moment.
Mm,
What do I do next? What's the very next thing that's right here? I don't know where it's taking me necessarily in a big picture, but what's the thing I'm drawn to right here, this moment? Oh,
mm,
and it's about engaging with your feelings. It's not about thinking and figuring it out. That's what most people do. Is they're always trying to figure out what's next. What do I do now? How do I do this? But what if instead of figuring it out, you felt it out?
mm.
You go, oh, but what am I feeling? What's the thing that's drawing me? I had a friend that used to call it follow the energy.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's a reason it's there. But we sit there and go, well, I need to understand why and how this is going to work and what's the outcome. Let's be honest, we never know that. We think we do.
Right.
But the truth is, the universe is guiding us all the time if we pay attention.
If we pay attention, it's just so easy to numb ourselves and go, into, I don't know, exercise, over exercising. I know I have done that. Overeating, watching TV, but just being present. So how can we really, really get in touch with that feeling, with that energy, um, every moment? It feels like a lot of work. It feels like we have, like all day long, I have to be on and connected to the source, something like that, or it's something more light.
Well, it's funny, right? The way you say that. Would that be so bad if all day long you were connected to the source?
I'm like, oh gosh.
And the truth is, the work we're doing is to stay disconnected.
Right.
That takes work. We're naturally connected.
Oh,
We're an extension of the divine. So we're automatically connected if we get out of our own way and think we know. I think I even put this in the book. One of my favorite jokes is, how do you make God laugh? Tell him your
how?
plans. And it was so funny because I shared that with a friend of mine, and she goes, God must laugh a lot.
I know.
I'm like, yeah, because we think we're in control. And that somehow that makes us safer. But the divine, you're an extension of the divine. So why would it want you to not be safe?
Right.
Most of the time where we get in trouble is because we interjected instead of following our truth. So following your yes, for example, in a relationship, you're dating someone, this is going on, there's all these indicators, and then your brain tries to rationalize excuses. Oh, but he's really busy. Oh, this is going on. He hasn't been feeling well. But you're still not feeling good, and you're justifying not feeling good.
Right.
Instead of going, you know what? Maybe this isn't a match. That's okay. Our brain then kicks back in and says, well, but where are you going to find somebody else? And he's better than nothing, and all these other stories. When it's like, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Your sample group is a dozen. You haven't even started. And most of the people that you've dated in your history are just different versions of the same person.
Right.
Because you keep doing what's familiar. Because your brain interprets the familiar as safe. But it doesn't mean it's satisfying. It's just familiar.
Right.
Because literally your reptilian brain, which is the part of your brain that runs about 85 to 90% of your actions every day, its only job, one job, they call it the survival brain, because its job is to keep you alive. Not happy, not satisfied, not even feeling good, just breathing. And this is why we've all witnessed this, right? Somebody's in a terrible relationship, maybe even an abusive relationship, and they keep going back. Because the reptilian brain says, I know you can survive this. Sure, you got 2 broken arms and a black eye, but you're alive, and that's my job. So in its mind, because it's familiar, it's safe.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's good. It's satisfactory. It's fulfilling. It's enlivening. None of those things are part of that equation. So we have to go, what's more important here? I got to follow my yes, my truth, my guidance, because that's the divine's language, is feelings. It's not thoughts and words. It's feelings. So when you're feeling this, you're like, I don't understand that. You don't need to understand it. You just need to follow it.
Right.
So if you want to learn more about that, obviously the book is the best avenue, Follow Your Yes, and you can find it on Amazon. But yeah, it's a process, and I actually walk you through the process in the book. But it's not, I always remind people, it's not learning something new. It's remembering something you already knew and had dismissed.
Right. Right. Wow, that was super, super powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to this session. And I know you have a gift, and it's a super fun gift. I did it just for fun and giggles because I'm married, but I got almost 100%.
I know you scored very well. I looked.
Oh, you noticed that I did it?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yes, you did. Ah, that's awesome. Oh, I feel so special. So tell us a little bit about your gift. So for the ladies.
Yeah. So one of the biggest questions I get from women is, they've been through relationships, and obviously they're not in one right now, but they want to be. And they're always wondering, like, am I ready? Is this the right time? Have I done what I need to do to get there? And so I created a very short quiz. It's called, Are You Ready to Date Again? And it takes maybe 2-3 minutes to do. But what it does is it provides you feedback on where you are on kind of the readiness to date scale. And then I give you some tips on things that you can do if indeed that you don't score highly on that. But again, it's just a quick way to check in, kind of get a reference point, and recognize, oh, maybe I need to do a little work here, or hey, I'm in great shape. And now you have a little more confidence going forward.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's very valuable. I love it. I love it. I love it. I did something similar back when I started doing the work in this area 20 years ago. And I remember when I did it, I really loved it. It gave me so much confidence and clarity. So please, ladies, go do it. It doesn't take long, and but the results you are going to get, the clarity you are going to get, they're going to carry you a long way. So the fact that it's only 2-3 minutes to complete it, it's not a measurement of the value you get. I love those tools when they are easy to do, but the value you get is amazing. So thank you so much. There is anything else you would like to share with the audience before we go our ways apart?
The thing I'd want to just kind of leave everyone with is, I know I gave you some ideas of things that could be getting in the way of finding love. Please know these are learned behaviors. These aren't who you are. So the fact that they're learned means they can be unlearned. And it's funny because whenever I say unlearn, people go, oh, you mean it took me 20 years to learn this? I'm going to take 20 years to unlearn it. Unlearn doesn't mean learn differently. It means to discard, to just go, I'm done with that, and I'm going to replace it with something better. So you can unlearn these, right? You can let them go and move on to a better practice that's actually going to be supportive. And I call it the bloom process, no surprise there. But that's literally how you learn to go, these are better behaviors that allow me to show up and to be my best and to bloom and attract the person that's really in harmony with who I am and what I'm all about.
I love it. I love it. And I stand behind that 1,000%, because I discarded a ton of behaviors, beliefs, fears that I had, and learned new ones. And I just love it. I love it. That's why I am happily married now with a great guy. And so it's totally, we are not a tree. We can move, we can grow, we are not the rose bush. We are this seed. We can move the seed different places and make it grow in a better terrain. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.